Hackett will find ways with Rodgers to be creative in getting multiple halfbacks on the field with how deep the Jets' depth chart is at the position, even if they move off one of the guys, which will be interesting to see what happens. I think there could be a lot of creative ways to use both of these guys. And look, Rodgers, I think, again, part of why he advocated for this, he was coming from a situation in Green Bay the last couple of years where he had a real 1A and 1B situation with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. And the Packers did a good job of finding a way to use both of those guys in a meaningful way. So, I don't know, let's fast forward to after the bye week. How do you think the Jets could get creative in using Cook and Breece, or Breece and another back, or Cook and another back at the same time? And, you know, schematically overall, as a tail to this question, what would you say is going to look the most different about Hackett's scheme compared to LaFleur's scheme?
Okay, so lots to unpack here, and it kind of goes back to, I dropped in the Discord the meme of like it's like a golden retriever next to like a monster, and it's like it was me thinking like, how do you get them on the field together, and everyone else screaming about how this ruined them in fantasy football. And so when this signing happened, that was the first thing that came to mind for me is, okay, let's say there's a perfect world where they're both suited up and healthy for a game, and what can you do? So I went back to 2017 and watched some of the Jaguars offense, what Hackett did then, because Green Bay is the layup example, right? You see how the usage of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon and their different backs and all of that. But Jacksonville was more interesting to me because they had a guy there in Fournette who you knew was good for 1,000 yards and was going to get a featured role. But I wanted to see, that year Jacksonville had Fournette, Chris Ivory, T.J. Yeldon, Corey Grant, and they had Tommy Bohannon play 16
Pro
games.
Pro Bowler.
And people are probably laughing at this. Jacksonville in 2017 was one of the best teams at utilizing their running backs in all of football under Hackett. I mean, they got Blake Bortles to a fucking AFC title game. Okay,
they almost won that game too. Almost won.
And they should have won. They should have won that game. So he did do a couple interesting things that I think correlate with Breece's skill set and Cook's skill set. And one thing I noticed that he did a couple of times was he would actually roll out three backs where they'd have the fullback on the field. And it seems like they like Nick Bawden and a fullback in this offense. It's just mind-blowing to think how many backs they might keep on this roster. So I'm not ready to...
6 running back depth chart.
It's insanity when you have talented pass catchers that you need to keep. So I'm not ready to dive in headfirst with that, but just something that I saw him do. He'd have the fullback and the running back in the backfield, and he'd actually have another running back motioned out or already out wide, and he would run a fake reverse to that player and then have the other actual running back in the backfield slip out to catch the ball. And they scored a touchdown off doing this. Chris Ivory, ironically. I think when watching this, and sure, it's 2017 and it's 2023 and things are different and all of that, but I'm not saying the Jets are going to copy that because Hackett's done that before, but it at least showed me he wants talented players on the field, and he will run heavy sets, and he will utilize running backs in the pass game. I mean, you got to realize that 2017 Jags team, this kind of blew my mind. Fournette had 36 catches on 48 targets. Chris Ivory had 21 catches on 28 targets. T.J. Yeldon had 30 catches on 41 targets. And then Grant and Bohannon combined for 9 catches on 15 targets. That's a lot of passes to running backs. So I look at this a couple different ways, right? Izzy, I don't think, is going to factor in the pass game this year. Carter, we'll see what happens. He could, but he is really small, where you wonder if they like him in pass pro, but he's an effective pass catcher. Bam, okay, we'll see. But we know Cook and Breece can be big factors in the pass game. So if you put them on the field together and you kind of open up this offense that can be really heavy and run at you, but also throw it short to both running backs, and then also stretch the field with Garrett Wilson and we'll say McCole Hardman or Lazard as a tight to the formation blocker, that's a lot to throw at you.
A lot of talented offensive players all of a sudden.
This is what I'm
list.
saying.
Look at that list.
Right? So watching that, I got